Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to part 3 of What If Deku Was Horus Hands. Last we left off was the USJ attack, where the Nomu stepped out of the portal, and, I know my past few videos I've been really, clingy to my, shoutouts and stuff. I'm sorry. I'm still really new to this YouTube thing. As you can tell by the subscriber count, the video count, and just overall in general. Part 7 of What If Deku Had Lelouch's Powers is going to be on pause for a special reason, which will be soonly updated in the playlist. So if you guys keep an eye on that, you'll see what I mean. So, Lelouch's Powers on pause until further notice, but it's a special surprise. Other than that, let's get into the what if. So as they were just standing there looking up at all the students and some of the teachers in the USJ, one person recognizes Monica and Deku. It's Katsuki Bakugo. As he's standing up there and he's looking down and he sees him, and he says, "Izuku?" Deku would look up and see Bakugo standing up there by the teachers and the students. As he would just stare at him with a cold face, turn to Monica, and then just pull her to the side, and they would just watch what would happen. As the USJ attack would go on, Aizawa going down to fight the small-time villains, as Kirigiri would warp up, teleporting all the other students away, as they would prepare to start fighting each other, or start fighting the villains in their sected areas. Instead of Deku and in Class 1A, it's gonna be Shinso. No, not Shinso. It's gonna be Tetsu, because I haven't given my respect to Tetsu yet. He's pretty much Kirishima, but metal. So, as they were all fighting as they're fighting everyone in their selected areas, Aizawa is about to start attacking the Nomu when Deku interferes with his gravity manipulations and his bones. When Aizawa notices this, he goes to attack Deku. And I didn't get a suggestion for the quirk for Monica yet. So for her, I'm gonna let her have the same abilities as not one of the killers, maybe she's gonna have a hardening quirk that also acts as an enhancement quirk. So her strength and speed are up, as well as her hardening to make her like Kirishima's, but just her skin and bones get hardened really hard. So she jumps in the way, taking the hit, and she gets sent flying behind Deku. As he sees this, his eye flares up with a bright red, and Aizawa notices this as he tries to get back, as Deku grabs him with the manipulation and starts throwing him all over the USJ, whacking him into different walls of the building. As the students in 13 is seeing this, 13's thinking that this kid's a monster. How did he get on the side of the villains? As Bakugo would finish up his section early with Kirishima, and I'm gonna say Tetsu was with them. So they would run out of their fire section for Bakugo to see Deku throwing Aizawa around the stadium like he's just a little rag doll. And Bakugo would try to go fight Deku. And since Deku wasn't noticing this and he was busy throwing around Aizawa, Bakugo gets a clean hit on Deku, sending him flying towards the water zone. As Monaco would use her abilities and just run over and catch him before he hits the water. So they would land on the side of the water zone, just barely going in the water. Deku would see that it was Bakugo that hit him. After he gets up, he would look down at Monica as she has blood running down the side of her head. Deku gets even more mad as all the students and the villains see that his eye starts getting more red and he gets more violent. As he pulls out the axe that's still for some reason covered in blood. As he pretty much looks like that picture right now, minus the forestry, and put the water zone behind him. As those bones are just rushing towards Bakugo as he blasts some of them away, but some of them going too fast, as Deku's in a blind rage. Everything in his path is getting hit, heroes or villains, or even students in fact. Kirishima and Tetsu have to harden up to the hardest they can go, and they don't have their invincible or super hardened state yet. So they're pretty much just taking hit after hit after hit from these bones, these sharp, jagged bones, which are breaking on their hardening quirk. Luckily for them, but it's also breaking their hardening. And their quirk, once it gets broken, it gets stronger. So it's actually making their quirk stronger. But let's keep going. As Deku was still in his blind rage, he then summons the blasters. And they're just shooting everywhere. They're shooting at villains, they're shooting at students, and one of them hit the Nomu in the stomach, causing a hole in it, but it would just regenerate. As Kirigiri would have to warp in front of Shigaraki and the Nomu, warping the blast away from where they were standing. As after a few minutes of this, Deku would get tired as he sits down, and he kind of passes out and just lays down next to Monica, as Monica's still passed out. And Kirigiri would warp them back into the bar for all for one to see. During this time, the heroes do show up, and everything else happens as in canon. The Nomu gets defeated, Kirigiri and Shigaraki warp out of there, and they would meet up with Zuko, and they would meet up with Monica and Deku in the bar as they were just laying down on the couch together, just asleep. As All For One would ask, what happened there at the USJ? You guys are supposed to come out victorious with All Might dead. Shigaraki would just say that Izuku lost control whenever Monica got hurt. And he started attacking villains and the students, as well as the heroes that were there, before he passed out. He did get hit pretty hard, though, before he started going AWOL. So you can't blame us for losing this time. All For One would sigh and just say, fine, just whenever they wake up, keep them in a calm mind. Oh shit, I forgot about Toga. Toga was there too. If she went to the USJ, I'm gonna recon that. She was staying at the bar, tending it, and waiting for them. Yeah. And, she would see the state of Monica and Deku, as she would walk up to Shigaraki and ask what happened. As he would tell him that Monica got hurt by one of the students, or by one of the pros that was there at the time. Deku got mad and started throwing the pro hero everywhere, as one of the students rushed behind him, giving him a fatal blow. Monica took most of the impact on the floor, and he got into a blind rage, just destroying everything in sight. Toga was surprised to hear that Izuku went into a blind rage, throwing a pro hero, of all things, all over the place like it's nothing. As Shigaraki would then explain the rest of the attack on the USJ, as they kind of failed epically, and they would have to retry again. During the next 2 to 3 weeks, I want to say that the what is it called? The Sports Festa was pushed back an extra week because the damage to the USJ was incredibly high. So they needed an extra week to repair it. As that was going on, Deku would be... Sorry if you hear background noises, my Xbox is on and I forgot to turn it off, so... Sorry. As they were sitting there, Deku was on the couch, still pretty much passed out from stamina drain for about a whole week, as whenever he woke up, Monica rushed over and gave him a hug, same for Toga, and they were just pretty much give him a light smack on the back of the head, saying not to do that again, you big idiot. And they would just go back to hugging him, and they would just start crying, as Deku would ask Shigaraki what happened, as he would give the explanation that after Monica got hurt, for taking the hit that you were about to take, you went into a blind rage, throwing a pro hero around before then, as well as destroying most of the USJ. As before they left the USJ, Shigaraki took a picture of the entire destroyed building that Deku did, and he would show him this picture. Deku, not knowing what to say, would just lower his head saying sorry, as Shigaraki would just laugh saying it's no problem. It's actually a good thing you caused that much chaos, because now we can get more information on the students. Deku would be a little lifted in spirits after hearing that, thinking that he did something good, but yet again, he also did something very bad. So, then again, the monitor would show a black screen with Izuku's father, aka All For One in this, would then say, so, my son, how are you feeling? And it's good to see you up. Deku would just say, good. Hello, father. Sorry for destroying most of the building and making our plan fail. All For One would just calm him down and just say that it's fine, just you need to get your rage under control. Deku says, okay, sorry, father. And Monica would just walk over to him and hug him and just sit down next to him. As All For One would then say that you guys aren't going to have any plans for a while, so I contacted someone to get us some information, and it's the informant, as the informant would give him information on the hero killer Stain and where to find him. But first, they decided to watch the sports festival, just to see all their quirks and abilities and their weaknesses. Which, everything in Sports Festival goes canon except Deku's not there. So I'm not going to go over Sports Festival because he's not even there to attend it. He's still waking up. So after the Sports Festival's over, internships and hero names, that happens. And during their the internships, of course, Stain visits the League of Villains base, as when he's there talking, he notices Deku, Monica, and Toga just sitting there watching TV. As he asks why there's kids there, and as he's about to throw a knife towards Monica to see what would happen, Deku grabs him with the gravity manipulation, throws him against the wall, and a blaster summoned right in front of him. Shigaraki would tell him to stop, as Deku would say, "He's about to hurt my sister. No one hurts my sister." As his eye flares up with a blood red killing intent aura. Stain lets go of the knife as it drops to the floor, and a loud clang is heard. Shigaraki walks over and picks up the knife, and looks at it, and it's a throwing knife. As he sets it on the counter of the bar, and says, "Good job, Izuku. You noticed that before even I could." As Deku would just hold him there, and then, as Shigaraki would say that it's okay to let him go, he would let him go and then just sit back down on the couch, watching TV with his sister and Toga. As they were talking, the same conversation kind of goes down in canon. He storms out, as Shigaraki sends the Nomos in. This time him just sending him in and not teleporting there. He just says that, same thing as they're teleported there, and just watches them go through. Same thing in canon happens where Hero Killer Stain is defeated, and the video was recorded. So now, back to where Dobby, Mr. Compress, I think it's Shredder? I forgot his name. I completely forgot his name, and I've been saying his name for about 30 videos now. The lizard guy. I'm just gonna call him Lizard Guy until I remember his name. Magnuma, Mustard, and Twice are there behind the informant after he gives the explanation of the video of the hero killer, and that the League of Villains is now a recognized organization. Shigaraki, taking a liking to this, welcomes in the other villains more freely than he does in the previous, as in canon. So instead of reluctantly saying yes, he brings him in because it might be fun. But one of the questions of Dobby is, why are there 3 kids here? Shouldn't they be in high school or something? As Toga and Monaco were sleeping, Deku looks over at him and flares his red eye at all the new entranced villains, as well as the informant, showing all of them that he means business if they make fun of them. As then he just closes his eyes and just rests there with his sister and Toga his sister laying down next to him, pretty much laying down on his chest, as Toga sitting there next to him, pretty much almost doing the same thing, but more like leaning on him. Which, if I could find a picture of it, would look adorable, but I can't really do that. So as Deku is relaxing there, they're accepted into the League of Villains. Dobby walks up to the couch, sits down, and just watches TV. Twice does the same thing, but wants to ask Deku a question, but he notices he's already asleep. And he just decides to leave it alone because it might not be a good idea to do this. So, they begin to make some plans. All for One sends them the Nomu for the camp, as it's just sitting against the wall near the monitor, just waiting for its commands. And they keep making plans about the camp because of the information the informant gave them. As Deku would then say, as Muscular was the last one to join, and he came in about 2 days after the Nomu was sent, as he would just say to all of them, why not attack it at nighttime when they would least expect it? And this is where I'm going to leave it off. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.